Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp, and I am delighted to bring you our review of Assassin's Creed 3, the Remastered edition on the Nintendo Switch. Assassin's Creed 4 would be the ultimate port for me, but unlike many, I really enjoyed 3 when it was launched back in 2012, but I didn't actually play Liberation, so having both in one package is great. Now, I will be reviewing this as a single product, taking into consideration the value of both games. Be sure to stick around to the end of this review, where I'll be announcing the people who have won a free game as part of our Akane competition. How does Assassin's Creed hold up on the Nintendo Switch? Let's find out. We'll start with Assassin's Creed 3's story. The storyline is an interesting one, focusing on the final chapter of Desmond as they uncover the final mysteries, including a powerful relic with a mysterious power surrounding it. You drop into the world in the early throes of a revolution. Boston makes for a welcome change to past iterations in the Assassin's Creed series, and the revolutionary tale intersects with key moments from this period. You begin as Haytham Kenway, father of the main protagonist in this outing, Connor. His motives are less than clear. Standouts in the story are the childhood years of Connor, which are excellently paced and serve as a great little introduction to the native peoples of America. It is a very clever way of quickly removing the otherness surrounding different cultures. When events inevitably shift, the potential displacement of the natives becomes a much more real issue, and I thought the game handled the parallel storylines of an American people against the colonial rule, while also highlighting the many injustices to the natives, as well as enumerating the many contradictory justifications and perspectives at play. Just as with his father, Connor is a more serious character than those of previous iterations, and many felt that Ezio Auditore was perhaps a more likeable protagonist. With the grim subject matter at hand, I never felt this way and actually enjoyed the role you played, but these concerns do make sense to me. The main issue with the story is some of the pacing. It just isn't quite right, plodding at times and then sprinting far too quickly at others. Liberation HD follows a female protagonist, which was a first for the series, with a much quicker pace, perhaps a byproduct of its Vita roots, and potentially designed to be a quicker experience. You take the role of Aveline, a young girl who is adopted into a rich family after some unfortunate events in her childhood. While her story is more abbreviated than 3's, it was also, in my opinion, more impactful. The very nature of it is one that carries more weight, and the whole dynamic is more interesting than almost any previous story in the series. The visuals don't convey this perhaps as well as the third game, however the voice acting is on par if not stronger. Neither of them is perfect, but in terms of the total package, you have a huge amount to get through, while I prefer the narrative of Liberation on the whole. Story scores 16 out of 20. I guess the main thing to know is that this is the full Assassin's Creed experience in a mobile platform. Everything is translated across remarkably well. This is in no way a lazy port job or a watered down version. Ubisoft have made every effort to make the experience not only okay, but decent on Switch. Motion controls are here. When aiming a weapon, they allow for quick and accurate targeting. These work very well and certainly add to the immersion. HD Rumble has also been revised for the Switch version, and it feels great. If you've played any Assassin's Creed, then you won't be at all surprised by the gameplay. AC3 saw the simplification of the very familiar free-running mechanics, allowing players to simply hold a trigger and quickly scale, jump and navigate the world with ease. A nice addition this time around was the far superior rock climbing element, which, as a climber myself, was most welcome, but also a sensible addition with a character able to scale everything bar rocks in the previous games. It was a little bit odd. Both AC3 and Liberation have similar combat mechanics, with a counter allowing you to quickly remove an enemy's weapon to be used against them. The combat is fast and reasonably exciting, but soon becomes a by-the-numbers experience, as every fight generally boils down to the exact same pattern of counter, attack, repeat. That being said, I still find the combat fun, and when you've got the entire city on your tail, you'll be hard-pressed not to enjoy the thrill of the chase, removing posters or bribing town criers as you go. Much of the game can be approached with stealth, whether hiding in dense shrubbery or in disguise and laying waste to the British. Aveline has a different set of skills, and the use of her womanly charms to, well, charm guards, as well as the outfit persona system, which sees you gain and alter your skills depending on which you choose, it actually feels a little more realistic in terms of what an actual assassin might do. Let's be honest, you're never going to forget this guy. But dressing up Hitman style and finding alternate routes or bribing your way into places makes much more sense to me. Missions in both range from the more generic tailing to the exhilarating high sea skirmishes.
Sink the bastard!
Some good variety from hunting to treasure seeking are welcome sidelines, as well as the usual slews of scalable lookouts which reveal the other side activities in the city of Boston or the much larger frontier areas. I won't lie, I spent the majority of my time bar fighting and playing checkers. The companion mechanic is also back once again, allowing you to call your fellow assassins to take out your current target or begin a riot at your command.
Who bloody hell are you?
The real star of the show in an Assassin's Creed game is the world you're given as your playground, and in both games these don't disappoint. The wilderness areas are vast, and hunting bears or being hunted by them is still as thrilling as I remember. The improved tree and rock climbing also add a lot of fluidity to the traversal of the environment, and this carries over to Liberation as well. There is such a vast swathe of content, from finding lost treasures to travelling the high seas aboard the Aquila, rebuilding your home, tons of side missions and chests to find, as well as countless other sidelines that pop up as you explore. Liberation allows you also to buy up old shops Vice City style. The real challenge of any open world is how many of these sideline activities are genuinely engaging rather than just repetitive and hollow. At least in both games you gain money which can be used on something seemingly worthwhile. However, it really, in my opinion, wasn't until the fourth game with Black Flag and your ship that you felt it made any tangible difference to the gameplay, and that still applies. Anyway, I digress. As a package, I give both games combined 16 out of 20 for gameplay. They're good, certainly, but they're not perfect. We have two very different games in terms of the visual performance. One's a remaster of a Vita game, and the other a fully fledged Assassin's Creed game being remastered and placed on a console that could potentially be less powerful than that of which I originally played it on PC, which is a little unusual. Now that being said, we'll start with Liberation. For the most part, the game benefits from a greatly improved lighting engine. Shadows are vastly better than the original, while the frame rate seems to hover around a mostly 30+ rate. There are drops below though, which surprise me, but they seem to confirm something about the Switch that many already know, and it isn't the graphical performance but the CPU which seems to be the bottleneck. When the computation goes up, regardless of what's on screen, the games suffer. When we move over to AC3, this becomes far more noticeable. Credit where it's due, cutscenes look brilliant, and the early areas of the game ran well enough. Lighting and shadows are excellent. I was surprised how much of the remastered elements they managed to bring over, thinking they might actually opt to just bring the original assets to save performance. I was genuinely impressed with the lighting on offer, and combined with the higher fidelity cutscenes, which I believe use the in-game engine rather than the Hellblade approach, it looks great. The biggest hit the game takes on Switch is in the frame rate, and at times it's a real issue. I saw this drop as low as 10 to 15 frames a second in some heated exchanges, while I would estimate it averages around 20 to 25 during action sequences. In some areas a solid 30 frames per second is achievable. As with the recent release of Saints Row, I once again found the game seemed to fare better in handheld. I'm beginning to wonder if the boost mode is playing a role here, but I am unsure of the implementation. Either way, the frame rate is better to my eye when undocked. Perhaps they scale back on visuals, who knows? It still looks great. Again, it's quite unusual. You cannot knock them for effort. The UI and HUD will scale automatically from dock to handheld mode, and there are options to use the touchscreen for menus. Audio is a very strong point in both games. I absolutely love the score of Assassin's Creed 3, composed solely by Lorne Balfe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, rather than the series mainstay Jasper Kidd. All the sounds and voices and other ambient noises are excellently carried over to the Switch, and this adds so much atmosphere to the experience. At the time of writing, there is a serious audio stutter glitch in the Boston area. Take a listen. It only seems to happen when transitioning environment, but it is most unpleasant. Visuals for me score 14 out of 20. They are great, but they need a patch, specifically for docked performance, while audio is 95% amazing, except for the annoying glitchiness that I've described. It scores 15 out of 20. The game costs £29.99, €39.99, and I imagine $39.99, but for some reason the price isn't up on the Nintendo site yet. The Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster includes an unbelievable amount of content, with Boston, New York and the Frontier to explore, as well as the Benedict Arnold missions, Hidden Secrets pack, and even the Tyranny of King Washington expansion missions. Then you have the entire game of Liberation, also included, that ranges from New Orleans to swamps and ancient ruins. My goodness. What you don't have, as far as I can see, is any multiplayer offering at this stage, but wait, this is a little bit strange and interesting. I think they're trying to bring this, as Nintendo's official store currently says number of players to be determined. So perhaps these are coming at launch or in a later patch. Regardless, despite being an older set of games, there is just so much to do. Value scores 18 out of 20. So there we have it. Assassin's Creed on a handheld is exactly what I thought it would be, and it feels fresh. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing it, and I'm sure you will as well. Performance isn't perfect, but let's be honest, did we really ever think we would be playing a game this fast on a handheld? I'm not so sure. It scores a final SwitchUp score of 79%. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching the channel at the moment and all the new subscribers. As promised, here are the list of names of the people that won our recent Akane competition. Please send us an email on the link and we'll make sure we get those across to you. Thanks again, and for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!